Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Storyteller's Corner. I'm your host, Joshua T. Calkins Trilogy, also known as Byron Sidious. This is a storyteller's perspective, an observation piece. And it's a little bit of a personal story, a family story, and hopefully one that you'll get the point of. My older son is 6 years old. He's going to be turning 7 in a couple months. And the story I'm going to tell you is from about a year and a half ago, roughly, when he was a little over 4-year mark. We were playing around in the downstairs family room and doing a little bit of roughhousing, as I do with my kids. I've done this with all of my kids, even the girls. A little bit of roughhouse, a little bit of horseplay. It's good for kids to know that they can be physically interactive with their parents to help them figure out where their boundaries are, what they can and cannot get away with, what certain expectations should be moving forward as they get older, and what the real world will throw at them sometimes. Now, around this age was when I wanted to get across to my oldest boy, there are certain limits on what you can get away with and what can be expected when you are engaging with someone on a physical level. He had been kind of, while I was contending with his younger brother, every now and again taking the opportunity to charge at me from across the room and just gang tackle, spear tackle into me and knock me down. All in good fun, all in good play. It's to be expected when you're roughhousing around with sons, with any child of yours. They're going to do this. It's just something that they do because they're young, they're energetic, they're exuberant. They want to play. They want to engage with their parent. Now, I had been letting him come all the way from across the room, full speed, blast into me. Okay. At one point, I told him, now, son, what you are doing is referred to as ambush. You're trying to blindside me and catch me off guard so that you can hit me with full force. That's part of the fun, right? And he kind of laughed and said, yes. I said, okay. Just be aware that when you are coming at me like that, when you're trying to ambush me, if I catch you coming at me, I'm going to stop you or try to stop you. And that's my right because you are starting an attack. And he just kind of laughed it off. He said, okay, haha, whatever. And he resumed to go to the other side of the room. Now, mind you, I do not feel necessarily good or proud of what happened next. He started charging at me from all the way across the room, and I saw and heard him coming. And as he was getting closer, I just brought my leg up, kind of out to the side, to around his shin or knee level. And he ran full speed into my upraised foot and crashed into the floor, face first. And he popped up screaming and crying and holding his face. And he came over to me crying, and I grabbed him up. I held him. I tried to comfort him and soothe him. And in the midst of his crying, he looked up holding his nose and said, "Dad, why did you do that? Why did you hurt me?" And that tore at me because I had literally just hurt him. And I said, "Son, I told you that if I caught you trying to ambush me, trying to attack me, that I had the right to try and stop you. That's my right, to try and stop someone from trying to physically hurt me." Now, granted, He was only 4.5. Many of you might be thinking, what a fucking monster you are, Josh. Why would you hurt your kid like that? I did not thrust kick him. I put my foot out as an impediment to stop his forward motion. He paid no attention, hit my foot, and smashed into the floor because of his own momentum. This is called physics, for those of you who are not paying any attention. It is a brutal lesson, a rough lesson, and I did not like doing it to him. I still feel bad that, because I can remember how hard he face planted on the carpet. Carpet that's no longer on that floor because we've ripped it out just to improve the house. And he was, again, he's crying. I'm telling him, son, you tried to come at me full speed and I stopped you. And he again asked, but why did you hurt me? I said, son, if someone is going to try to hurt me, I'm going to stop them from hurting me. And if they get hurt, it's on them. Sorry, son, I love you. But the reason you're hurt is because you didn't stop trying to blast into me. When you try to ambush someone and it backfires, you get hurt, you are at fault for your own hurt. This is the concept of taking accountability, taking responsibility for your actions. It is an unpleasant way to teach this lesson. And his face was hurt for a couple of hours. It was the last time my son tried to ambush me at full tilt, full speed, when I wasn't looking directly at him, and said, bring it on. We still roughhouse, we still horse around, but he doesn't try to ambush me anymore. Or he'll let out a war cry and go, ah, and then come at me, laughing, because he sees that I have seen him, I acknowledge that he's coming, it's part of the game, it's part of the setup. He is 6. He doesn't try to ambush me. He doesn't try to just come in and go or tackle me. Because he knows if he does, and he gets hurt, because I respond and defend myself, it is his own responsibility for getting hurt. He's 6. How is it that he knows that? But apparently tens of thousands of fringe lefty idiots here in the state of Minnesota don't seem to understand that concept. People on the socio-political left, generally speaking, seem to have it nowhere lodged in their head. The concept of responsibility. If you do X, Y might very well be the result. And you'll have no one to blame but yourself. Now, I have also dealt with my sons, because there's 2 of them. They do a lot of arguing, fighting back and forth, both in terms of saying awful things to each other, picking on each other, insulting each other, and then getting into actual physical altercation. But they both know the rule that has been hard set. No matter what words come out of someone's mouth, the proper response is not to hit them. They both know this because each of them has been grounded from tablets, from toys, from getting to pick what's on the television, from bedtime snacks. Yes, my kids are a little spoiled in certain regards. They get certain benefits, certain privileges. When they break a rule or misbehave, those rights and privileges go away. It's called parenting. And somewhere along the line, Gen X and older millennial parents apparently forgot to discipline their children in any way, shape, or form beyond sitting them down to have a little gentle talk. That is great that you want to talk to your children, because you have to speak to your children to connect with them and let them understand that communication is the key in all relations. But if they never face consequences for their stupid choices, and sometimes the choices are stupid, not foolish, not just childish ignorance and they didn't know better. Sometimes, and I know we love our children, but we have to confess when they do something genuinely brain dead. They need to face consequences for brain dead decisions. You cannot coddle them forever. And an entire generation and a half, possibly 2 generations of these kids never got consequences for making poor choices. The parents mollycoddled them and never let them learn that sometimes there is a harsh and immediate reaction to what they're doing. You don't have to club them over the head and be an abusive prick, but you can take away things that they want or that they think are part of everyday, day-to-day life. Taking away the kids' choices for TV shows? Started off working out okay, but eventually they came to, who cares? They just missed it. But this is also why you need to make sure you know your kids. Understand what it is that they hold dear in terms of privileges, so that you can revoke that privilege when they have broken the rules, when they have done something untoward and not allowed in your home. If you are the type of parent who is so permissive that you'll let them get away with damned near anything, don't be shocked when their idea of pushing the line a little further creeps into actual misdemeanor or felony territory. There's a reason why my wife and I have treated our children as well as we do, but have set some very stern expectations for what they can and cannot get away with. We do that because when they push the line and test their limits, even if they push that line or test that limit out in the real world once they're adults, it still will not reach the line of a misdemeanor or a felony. Why? Because we will already have struck the fear of God into them here at home. That's our duty. It's not just to make sure that they're smiling and happy and have everything they want. No, it's to try and do better for them than we had, but also to instill in them the concept that they have a duty to earn what they have and to do right by themselves, their family, their friends, and their community. To understand that they have responsibilities and duties, not just get what they want. Understand your children. Discipline your children. And hopefully, if you've done it well and they're not already wired the wrong way, because that does happen. Let's face it, you could be the best parent in the world and your kid could still end up being a psychopath. That does happen. People are both nature and nurture. It's not all of one or all of the other. We are the result of our nature and our nurture. But if you nurture them properly, you can instill in them enough benevolent operational worldview and perspective to hopefully counteract any native, genetic, hardwired predispositions towards foolishness or nastiness. Instill in them a set of ethics and values that will result in them saying, if I do this thing, whatever this X is, if I do this, there may well be a heavy consequence for me. And I have to be prepared to pay that consequence, pay that price. It is obvious to me that not enough people are doing this for their children and haven't been for a long time. That's my piece on it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I ask that you take care of yourselves. And as always, keep reading.